Good evening to everyone. We are heartily great to introduce Commander Gurumurthy Ganga, Gangadharan Garu. Sorry for that. And we welcome Lakshmi Narayana Garu also. Actually, I want to introduce Commander Garu. He was commissioned in Indian Navy on 1st July 1995 and held various frontline technical appointments actually. And he is also a fleet director and directorate of fleet maintenance under Ministry of Defense or Navy prior taking over a director in placements in prestigious Geetham University and in 2016 April, and he have many distinctions in four graduations: BSc, BTech, MTech, and MSc in through military training or civil establishments, namely Naval Academy, NCE and INS Shivaji, IIT Madras, and DSSC Wellington, respectively. So we are very honored. We are very grateful to have you here. And over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Good evening, one and all. It's indeed my pleasure to be part of this event. I'm always impressed by the work, kind of work that Andhra Pradesh Skill Development Corporation does, and Geetham Deemed to be University has got a very strong relationship with APSSDC. I'm also extremely thankful to Dr. Lakshmi Narayan Sadasivuni, Chair IEEE Vizag Bay Section, for shortlisting me to conduct this particular talk on building a better resume for job opportunities. Ma'am, if you permit me, I would start sharing my screen.
Please, sir.
Can you see my screen, ma'am?
Yes, sir. You can make it full screen if you want.
Now,
Yeah, it's perfectly right, sir.
yeah. Every job opportunity for an engineering graduate or graduate from any other stream starts with a search for a career. People would be wondering what is the difference between a job and a career and how to choose. Job is the one which you do for day-to-day living. Career is the one which we pursue because of our passion for that particular job opportunity. Whether it is a job or a career, it always starts with a resume. Many people keep wondering what is a resume and how is it different from a curriculum vitae. To start with, a resume is nothing but a visiting card for oneself, because very rarely we get an opportunity to meet a corporate person, be it a technical lead or a HR or a managerial lead, in person to present ourselves in physical form. Instead, they prefer to see us through our resume, which is nothing but a visiting card. A visiting card which is made with due care and attention to the details so that it presents a complete picture of ourselves to the resource person that we are trying to get in touch with. It should also be made interesting so that it arises the curiosity in that person to give us an opportunity to present ourselves before the resource person. Thereafter, it becomes a simple testing procedure. Whatever we stated in our resume is valid or not. That's what that resource person is going to check. Instead of checking our proficiency or the expertise that we have in that subject. Therefore, it's very important to draft or craft a resume. I always tell Geetham students that they should craft their resume with due care, whereas due to urgency of time, we always try to fill in a single form of resume before the drive and try to present ourselves. It reflects very poorly because it has not been tailor-made for that particular corporate event. The next 45 minutes or so, we will see what is a resume, how do we go about preparing it, what are the general do's and don'ts, and how do we become successful by crafting our resume to perfection. Moving further, a resume can generally be divided into the headings as shown in the slide. The first and foremost is the heading of the resume. Next comes the career objective or a goal. Where am I? Where do I want to reach? How do I want to reach? All this put in a simple sentence. This should be followed by summary of education. Irrespective of the branch of specialization, we all would have gone through 10 plus 2 plus 3 or 10 plus 2 plus 4 kind of an education scheme and have reached few milestones in our academic journey. It's always important to put all this in a nutshell so that the resource person gets to know us even before we see him in person. That would be followed by co-curricular activities. People keep asking questions like what is a co-curricular activity and how is it different from extracurricular activity. When we move on to that particular section, we will deal with it in detail. As of now, academics record would be followed by co-curricular activities. Thereafter comes the internship, mini or our major project details. It's always said that during our graduation, we get plenty of theoretical knowledge, whereas during internship or while performing a mini or a major project, we put in all the theoretical knowledge into a practical problem and come out with a solution. Therefore, it's very important to list the internships that we did, what kind of experience that we achieved, etc. All this would be covered in the 3/4 of our resume, which would be followed by extracurricular activities, the activities that we took part outside the classrooms. Thereafter, we should list out all the certifications. What are the certifications? How do we procure? How do you arrange? We'll see in that particular section. All this would be ended with a self-declaration wherein we certify that details mentioned above are true in nature and I certify for that, or we thank the resource person for the opportunity being provided, sign at the end, list references if required, followed by signature block. These are the major sections of a resume. The examples that I'm showing on the other side of the slide are drawn from open source and are readily available in internet for your reference. Heading is the most important part of a resume. By looking at the resume heading, the resource person decides whether to go further down to the resume or to dump a particular resume. Heading is nothing but the importance with which we dress up our head before an event, the way in which we comb, the way in which we apply makeup, the way in which groom ourselves. Same way, the heading of resume is very, very important. The first and foremost is a clear photograph ourselves on top of the resume. It's always said it's better to post a formal photograph. What's a formal photograph? A formal photograph is nothing but a passport size photograph clicked under good lighting with a good background, contrasting colors, matching accessories, and decent clothes to present ourselves, because his picture speaks volumes about a person who is being depicted in that. Therefore, I would request you to pay due attention instead of going for a self-clicked selfie or a poorly clicked shot under lighting, etc. It's better to go for a professional photography in which our image would be captured. If possible, try to present ourselves with a pleasant smile on face, exhibiting positive attitude to the recruiter. That should be affixed properly. Please do not staple or pin up the photograph, because there is a chance that it might get lost while the resource people are dealing with plenty of resumes. Affix it in such a way that the paste does not get spread in and around the photograph and it is decently fixed onto the right hand corner of the resume. This should be followed by full name. In case the name is lengthy, please use appropriate shortening method to get into the name. At the same time, please do not use shortcuts. For example, in one of the resume, we saw the name GTS Dam. I repeat, GTS Dam. We were slightly intrigued by this name because that name was coming from the state of Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, it's very rare to get a name called Dam. So we wanted to know further about it. When we called the candidate and tried to find out what's the full form of GTS Dam, it turned out to be his name was G. Thirunyana Sambandam, a pure Tamil name which has been reduced to 3 letters of GTS Dam, whereas you think that probably this guy is not from India or probably from an English-speaking country. Therefore, please take due care in mentioning your name. That would be followed by address. The address should be mentioned crisp. Please do not run your address into 7 to 8 lines of saying street number, street name, council number, Zilla Parishad, village, post office. No, just give 3 to 4 lines of your address through which the company would be able to contact you if they need to send a post or a courier or a resource person to inquire about your credentials. All this would be followed by contact details. Earlier, it used to be a landline number, but nowadays, due to advent of science and technology, there are plenty of means of getting in touch with a candidate. Please be sure to mention your cell number, alternate cell number, a landline number, email ID, and most importantly, LinkedIn profile details. Why? Because nowadays, it's always said by the time the candidate walks from the waiting room to the resource person's table, the resource person has already done a social research on this individual and has formed a mental opinion about the candidate. The way in which we make a social footprint, we should be doubly sure that we are spreading positive image of ourselves in all the social media, be it Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, whichever media we are in. We should be able to talk about our credentials, achievements, contribution to the benefit of the society, etc. Loose comments are to be avoided. Antisocial detailing need to be avoided in social media because all these would be visible through the social media profile that we are depicting. It's always advisable to go in for a LinkedIn profile because generally majority of the corporates as well as government sector companies are connected through LinkedIn. All this would be followed by a headline. A headline is nothing but a small theme statement about the individual. Who are you? What are you? Where are you? And where do you want to reach? For example, a fresher might ask, I don't have experience, I am not good in this subject, what do I mention? You can always say, having a keen interest in academics chose science for my bachelor's program. That kind of a simple statement. Being a sportsman, I was actually interested in a university which is providing ample opportunities for my ambition to be pursued. You can mention that. Make it simple, straight, so that they get an idea. Whoever is going through the resume, get a clear-cut idea what kind of person they are dealing with. One of the best example is as shown in the slide, in which he says that he's got 12 years of experience in restaurant and retail. Thereafter, he starts bulleting each and every point for the benefit of the resource person. The next in line is the career objective. This is the most important one. It should be following the concept of KISS, K-I-S-S. Keep it simple and straight. It should be clear without any ambiguity, without using much of first person reference. I want to be part of, I would like to, I'm looking forward. Try to avoid this. Some of the samples are given on the right hand side of the slide. Should always be aligned with that of the corporate's goal or the post that we are aiming for. If it is a database management job, you should be able to say your database management skills. If it is about a restaurant, you should be talking about your hospitality skills. If it is about a receptionist post, you should be able to talk about communication skills. Therefore, it should be aligned with the post for which one is applying. It should be self-descriptive in nature, in the sense that the resource person should not feel the need for getting in touch with you to ask queries about that particular career objective. And you should also mention your expectations. Where do you want to see yourself, say, 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line? What's your short-term goal, long-term goal? I know that it's going to be a complex process to cover all this in 2 to 3 sentences, but only by practice we'll be able to get that right sentence for ourselves. And that sentence is not common for resumes for all types of jobs. It will vary from one to another. If I am an engineer from mechanical engineering branch, it could be for a maintenance job, it could be for an operational job, it could be for a sales job, or it could be for even a job based in software industry where I am going to deal with a client from core mechanical engineering. The career objective should be formulated as per the expectation of the career that I am opting for. For example, to keep up with the cutting edge technologies. This is from a techno-savvy person who would be able to talk about his eagerness to get inside the latest technologies. To solve problems in an effective, creative manner in a challenging position. This is for those people who are in the role of consultant, who are going to listen to the clients about their problems, about their constraints, what are the inputs available, what are the expected outcomes. Combine all this together into a career objective so that you get selected for a consultant role. In case I'm going to craft my resume, I will spend majority of my time in focusing on formulating the right career objective for the job that I'm opting for, the career profile that I'm going to choose for, the position that I'm going to put my candidature for. I would request all of you to pay attention to the career objective. At the same time, few of the corporates say we don't need a career objective, straight away jump into other details. So choice is yours, but it's always better to be prepared because the opening question will always come from career objective. After going through your personal details of, say, your name, rank, number, where you are coming from, what are your mobile numbers, etc. They have seen your LinkedIn profile. The next most important thing that is going to garner their attention is your career objective. So please be clear, precise, and simple. The principle is KISS. Keep it simple and straight. As I mentioned earlier, we all have undergone an education program of, say, 10 plus 2 plus 3 or 10 plus 2 plus 4 plus 2 or 10 plus 2 plus 4 plus 2 plus 5, whatever, depending on whether we are a bachelor degree holder or a master's or a double master's or a doctorate program scholar. Depending on that, our summary of education is going to differ. It's always said that it's better to be in a tabular column format because people are really interested in numbers and details rather than descriptive statements. Believe me when I say that a resume gets the attention of the resource person not more than 2 minutes. Within those 2 minutes, if you are able to sell yourself through your visiting card, you are a huge success because you are going to present yourself to prove them right in shortlisting it. Therefore, I would suggest that the educational details should be tabulated in tabular column format. They should also be chronologically arranged, starting from the latest degree that we have obtained. There are plenty of schools of thought which says that we should start from 10th to 12th to bachelor's to master's, whereas I strongly believe that the latest degree is going to get the maximum attention. Probably I did bachelor's degree in science, thereafter I moved on to master's in data science and I am opting for a data scientist role. What's the use of telling that I did 10th standard in Ramakrishna Mission, 12th standard in St. Xavier, thereafter I moved on to did my BSc from Loyola College, then I did my master's in data science. Instead, I might as well say I did master's in data science with 8.9 CGPA. That's all. It's a short set. Therefore, please start with the latest degree that you have just completed or you are undergoing. I'm sure there are plenty of nagging doubts that I have not finished my graduation. What do I state? You say that I'm in 4x1, I'm in 4x2, I'm in 3x2, and give the CGPA up to the last semester which has been disclosed. Most important thing is all the figures and facts that you're mentioning in the tabular column are verifiable through your certifications. So please be sure if they are asking in CGPA, please convert it with the using right formula. If they are asking in percentage, give true percentages. Do not adjust this to the nearest large figure. For example, if I've got 7.3 and I should say it is 7.5. No, don't say that. If it is 7.299, please mention 7.299. That shows that your values are authenticate and you have a knack for looking at the right value at the right time. Most important thing is a remarks column, though it is not included here. I chose this example because this particular candidate has not given much beyond the numbers that could easily be arrived through the certificates. If I am in his place, I would say Diploma in ECE, Sairam Polytechnic College, Chennai, June 2009, 76%. The remarks column, I would mention that I always stood in the top 3% of the class. I was there in the top 10% of the class. I've been a class topper right from my school days. That kind of remark should come. Has been an academic topper, has been a class representative, was selected as a class representative. This kind of things can always come in the remarks column because that is what is going to pay or get the eyeball attention of the recruiter. As the recruiter moves from left to the right, say BBA, Annamalai University, doing first year, percentage not applicable, but got scholarship of 50% of fee due to academic merit. If that is mentioned in the remarks column, take it from me, this resume is going to be a short sell. Therefore, I would request all of you to make use of tabular format, arranged chronologically, starting from the latest degree, all the facts and figures verifiable through your certificates, and the remarks column, which will give the unique remark about yourself, your academic journey that you have been traversing since your pre-KG days. All these are very important. This is the most important section because this can be verified very easily. This should be followed by extra and co-curricular activities. Earlier I mentioned that people do ask what's the difference between co-curricular and extracurricular. Co-curricular activities are those which go along with your academic program. For example, if I have chosen a course in mechanical engineering, naturally CAD/CAM lab becomes part of my co-curricular activities. In addition to that, if there is a designing contest using the latest software, I take part in that, it becomes a co-curricular activity. Whereas extracurricular activities, all those activities which we indulge other than the classroom activities are academic activities. For example, there was a holy celebration and there was a cultural event. I was told to be the MC for that event and I did it beautifully. Was selected as MC for a college program consisting of 8,000 students is a bold statement as far as extracurricular activities are concerned. Therefore, all the activities that we just talked about, co-curricular and extracurricular activities, are as shown in the slide. Start with your internship details, the journals, professional journals. For example, mechanical engineering comes with plenty of journals. Science programs have plenty of journals, both Indian as well as abroad. Journals are there in which research articles are published. I fully agree with you that you are a bachelor student, you did not get an opportunity to present, but I'm sure you have plenty of faculty members who are well renowned in the field of research and they are making articles for these journals. Always contribute a small portion of the article co-authored by, your name can also come as part of that. Be part of clubs and magazines. These could be clubs for photography, clubs for music, aero modeling, sports, games. You mentioned it should be part of any one of them. It's not necessary to be part of all the activities that happen in a college or a university or an institute, but choose a particular activity and become a master of that activity so that you can talk about that in your resume. If possible, take part in culturals. Cultural need not be performing arts on stage. You could be in the support team, you could be in lighting, you could be in advertising the activity or getting sponsorship or organizing committee, leading a program. It could be anything. All these are part of your leadership roles. Please get yourself mentored by your seniors. Take part in these programs so that you try to get a bullet in your resume mentioned about this. Next in line is most important, sports and games, because it is in the sports field that you get to learn about leadership, team management, resource management, time management. All these come part of sports and games. So I would call upon all those who are attending this program to take part in this so that you get to mention this in your resume. Hobbies are very, very important. It could be reading, it could be writing, it could be playing an instrument, it could be being part of YouTube as a YouTuber, or cookery, gardening, you name it. There are thousands of activities available. Be part of a hobby, take it up, ensure that your free time is occupied and achieve some excellence, mention it in your resume. There are also other opportunities to be part of a social work. Social work does not mean that you have to be in white and white planting trees along RK Beach in Vizag. It could also be a street cleaning activity. It could be teaching those students who are from downtrodden society, or collecting books from those people who have finished a particular class and distributing it to the poor students who are entering the class. For example, we always tell people who have entered engineering that all the books that they use for engineering coaching classes should not go waste, because generally they throw it away or get it exchanged for a few kgs of some dry fruits. Instead of that, it's better to give it to those people who are in need of those books, who cannot afford those books. You can be part of any such social work and mention it in your resume, or article writing in your mother tongue or English. Ensure that you got a clipping of that, present that in your resume. Your resume becomes as colorful as this slide. Different types of activities bring different flavors to your resume, and the recruiter understands that you did not restrict yourself within a classroom, but moved out of the classroom to explore all the opportunities that came in your way through your educational institution, your society, your residence. All this will be exhibited. Why? Because nowadays corporates look for an all-round personality who can go beyond the call of duty and contribute towards the well-being of the society in general through one activity called CSR, corporate social responsibility. Any corporate of repute will always earmark certain amount of time and resources towards the well-being of the society. For example, if you go to Vizag Steel Plant, the kind of green initiative that they take, if you go to Divi Labs, kind of signals that they were brought in. All these are part of corporate social responsibility, because the corporates want to be recognized for their contribution beyond the business interests. Therefore, they would be looking for people who are good in all these activities, who would be able to join hands with the corporate reps in smooth conduct of their corporate social responsibility. In case you don't have many of this, shortlist 2 to 3 of them, and ensure that they get their due limelight in your resume. At the same time, please do not mention achievements like came first in lemon and spoon race in my third standard, or simple things like running race in first standard, etc. No, they do not get due merit. They always look for activities as an adult. What did you do? They would compare this list with your social footprint in your social media. Therefore, be sure of what you are broadcasting about yourself in social media as well. The next section should be consisting of certifications. The new normal has brought in plenty of restrictions and physical mode of learning. Therefore, plenty of opportunities are available online to get yourself certified in the choice of course that you want to be. Some of the courses are as shown in the slide. LinkedIn has come up with plenty of LinkedIn courses. Coursera is there with both paid as well as free courses from world-renowned universities. NPTEL is there, run by our IIT Madras, for all the students across the country. Corporates like Microsoft conduct various programs. Generally, MOOCs are available for students across all the streams. I would request you to choose course of your choice, get yourself immersed in that program, get it done well, get a certificate, ensure that it is mentioned in your social media footprint and represent it in your resume. For example, the moment I get a resume for the post of an assistant director, I go through the resume, I see what all certifications they have done. In case they have done it, I immediately check for the same to be represented in their social media. If it is there, it is proved that yes, he has done that course and he has also exhibited that in the social media. Cross checks can always be done as and when the certificates are being checked. What do we do? All this is that we are telling the corporate that learning has not come to an end. You are a learner and your learning curve stretches beyond your schools and colleges. You are ready to absorb the latest technologies that are being offered across the globe through best of the institutions. If it is paid program, you are ready to spend your own resources to update yourself with the latest technologies. All these are very, very, very important. For example, in case this includes linguistic skills as well. Sorry, I forgot earlier. In case you want a foreign opportunity, you can choose choice of your language, be it French or Mandarin or German. Go through a diploma program so that you can exhibit that skill as well in your resume. It could be a computational skill. If I am from March and computational skills have not been taught to me, but whereas I feel that computational skills are mandatory for any role, I can always pick up, say, a database management course or a front-end development course or a back-end maintenance course, whatever I want to do, and put it in my resume so that the firm understands that I've gone beyond my course curriculum and I've upgraded myself through online courses, and I'm ready to take up the latest technologies through certification courses. Therefore, it's very, very important to do certifications. Certifications can also come through dedicated time spent in programs like NCC and NSS. In case you are service oriented, you might as well wear uniform as part of NCC, pick up Army, Navy, Air Force cadre, get A, B, C certificates. All these certificates get their due points, not only in UPSC, but also when you opt for private corporates of repute, because they look for these kind of regimented programs which you have undergone. All this will get additional points. For example, your academic performance has got, say, 60 points. Your certifications would fetch another 20 points for you. Therefore, it's very important to do as many certifications as possible so that it gets your attention as and when you present your candidature. All this ought to be represented with the help of active verbs. This is readily available in internet. List of active verbs to be used in a resume. For example, I can say completed my schooling with Ascent Junior College, or achieved a CGPA of 8.9 in Ascent Junior College. These two sentences have got two different meanings. First one is I completed 10+2, or I achieved a CGPA of 8.9. Therefore, please start each one of your sentence with some of the active verbs that are shown: accomplished, achieved, demonstrated, designed, developed, handpicked, shouldered. All these are some of the active verbs that a recruiter looks for in a resume. For example, you took part in a college sports event, you went to intercollegiate, you should say represented Geetham deemed to be university in so-and-so. That shows that you have been handpicked by your director of physical education to be part of this event representing Geetham. When you're doing a project or internship, my students always come and say, sorry sir, my budget was only 5,000 rupees. They feel that 5,000 rupees is too small for a graduation project. Please do not restrict your scope of work. You should always say, invented so and so by a meager budget of 5,000 rupees. That shows that with minimum resources you are able to achieve your goal. So I would request you, for example, if you have done a mini project and you have designed, say, an unmanned aerial vehicle, you should say designed an unmanned aerial vehicle with a budget of 20,000 rupees. These kind of active verbs get due attention in a resume. So these are freely available in internet. Second thing is these are freely available. Please make use of them, but live up to the expectation. You can't say that, say for example, I would say, let's take one, identified the right talent. If I am a team lead for, say, photographic club, I should be able to say, identified the right talent for the team positions in Geetham Photographic Club from freshers. That's a very beautiful sentence, because you are part of a talent management group and you did talent identification through a filtration process. In case you are asked, how did you do that? Probably you should say, we asked all the volunteers to come with their respective cameras and went around the campus in a forenoon session, asked them to click as many photographs as possible, at the end of which we filtered 3 to 4 photographs per head, was put across to our Apex team, and finally we came up with 5 positions and 5 talents identified for each of these positions. You should be able to say, this is the process that you did through that identification. Please choose the right word, right active verb for each of the sentences so that it's power packed. Your resume has gone from a normal sale to a power sale. Power sale is nothing but trying to sell the same product with active verbs so that it is power packed sale. After finishing all this, say for example, your intro section, academic section, extra and co-curricular activities, certifications, etc., we are finally coming to the tail section of your resume. The tail section is very, very important. There are 2 schools of thought. Few say that there is no need for declaration because you are the one who is stating all the data that is given in the resume, but at the same time, people say that you should authenticate the information that has been provided by you, so you should sign. Depending on the kind of role that you are looking at, either you can thank them for the opportunity or express your willingness to be part of that organization by saying that looking forward for further processes or looking forward to know the details of this particular post, etc. Or you can declare, saying that I hereby declare whatever details given above are true to my knowledge, and thereafter you sign. Signature is very, very important. Do not try to make it complex. Keep it as simple as possible so that it can be decoded. Date and place are very, very important because it will also tell them whether you are from the same place or you are from an outstation. When did you sign this? Recently, we received few resumes for the positions that are vacant in our organization. We got an application dated 2018. We were stunned when we contacted that candidate, very experienced candidate. He said, sorry sir, I forwarded my old resume. I withdraw it and I'm forwarding a fresh resume. But many of the organizations may not go to that extent to find out whether you have sent the latest one or the old one. The moment they say 2008, it is not yet updated, it will simply go to the dustbin. So I request you to be very, very careful about the date that you are mentioning and the place that you are mentioning. Some of the corporates will also ask you to mention references. References are nothing but people who can be contacted to check the testimonials. The shortcut is going to the known person and telling them that I'm giving you as my reference and so do so and so. But I would request you to desist from such a practice. It's better to give, if you are from a college or an institute or a campus, university campus, it's better to give the HOD's details or your AMC, the monitoring counselor's details, so that they can be given a call. They would be able to talk about you in detail, the contribution that you have done in the class, kind of academic achievements you made, what kind of a champion you are in leading the courses that are there in the university, etc. So choose your references carefully, and if possible, try to match the references with the kind of corporate that you are applying for. If you're looking for a software position, ensure that you give references of those people who can talk about your computational skills. If you are going for, say, a job which involves communication skills, say a receptionist or a consultant or a business analyst, better to give those people who would be able to talk about your analytical skills. If you're going for a leadership position, choose your references in such a way that they would be able to, who has seen your leadership qualities in activities that were arranged under their esteemed leadership. Therefore, references are very, very important, and references are not the same. Please do not quote your next of kin, say your father or mother are reference, because no father or mother would be able to talk ill about their own ward. So do not quote father, mother, neighbor, etc. Try to choose somebody who's in a good position, who would be able to talk about it in detail. It should not happen that they give a call and they find out that this referral is unable to give any detail about it. Therefore, be careful, choose carefully, be in touch with the referral so that they are able to talk well about you as and when they get a call from the recruiter. It's very, very important to include all of them or at least majority of them in your tail section, because I've seen resumes coming with a simple signature without any thanking you or acknowledging the efforts being put in, or a thanking statement which shows that you do not pay attention for details. So it's the way in which you started the resume. It's very important that you should end your resume. I get plenty of questions from my students saying that what should be the length of an ideal resume for a fresher. It should not be more than, say, 1 page, at the most 1.5 page, in case you are an outstanding personality and you've got sports achievements to talk about, you've got extracurricular activities to talk about, and you have presented technical papers, you have been part of quiz programs, debates, you have arranged departmental activities, then you don't know which one to cut. It's always better to list out all the activities that are there, choose the best ones out of them, make the best CV possible, get it scrutinized by 2 to 3 people who are knowledgeable in this field, ensure that it's power packed, action packed, thereafter presented to the corporate recruiter. At the same time, it's very, very important that there are some important don'ts, strict no practice, which you need to follow. One example is shown on the right hand side of the slide. First one is too many details in heading. For example, if I say my name is Gurumurthy, I am a retired commander. Thereafter, I joined as a director. Presently, I am an assistant dean. My cell number is so-and-so. My wife's cell number is so-and-so. My landline number in office is so-and-so. My landline number at residence is so-and-so. My office mail ID is so-and-so. My personal mail ID is so-and-so. My LinkedIn profile, my Facebook. If I start giving all these details at the beginning itself, they'll get bored. They'll think that I'm trying to project myself too big for that role. So try to project only essential data in the heading. The next one is quality of photograph. We have discussed it in detail. Still, I would prefer you clicking a professional photograph, contrasting colors, good background, and formals, if possible a tie. And if you are a girl student, try to present yourself in the best dress possible. It could be a salwar suit, it could be a business suit, or it could be even a sari. Well worn, exhibits your personality, straight, etc. And the pasting of photograph is very, very important, because if the gum is found around the photograph, it shows that you do not pay attention to minute details. Objective too complex. I would love to be part of an organization, looking forward for my career aspiration, giving shape to my career thoughts, and aiming to be a manager in your esteemed organization 5 years down the line. Too complex. Therefore, your complex should be very, very simple. KISS is the principle. Statements which do not exhibit your actions. Statements which have been made, simple statements like passed the 10th standard with 65%, passed the 12th standard with 85%, did graduation in industrial engineering. These kind of statements are boring statements. Graduated with so-and-so CGPA, stood 3%, top 3% of the class. Very interesting statement. Was offered scholarship in 10+2 level for academic brilliance. Very important. Represented Ascent Junior College in a competition in NASA, USA. Most important statement. These kind of things are very, very important. Statement should not be boring. You are trying to sell yourself, try to show the most attractive features of your personality traits in your resume. Trivial details. I mentioned lemon and spoon race earlier. Same way, did street cleaning, point number 1. Did township cleaning, point number 2. Did university cleaning, point number 3. Basically, you did environmental cleaning. You can always mention carried out environmental cleaning at so-and-so level. So avoid trivial details. Try to combine the sentences to punch, make punches in your resume. Covering of skill set is the most important. Nowadays, corporates have gone ahead of vacancy-based hiring to skill set-based hiring. What kind of skill set that you are bringing? In fact, I know of a corporate which is hiring 10+2 students at the end of the 10+2 based on the skill set, so that that particular skill set can be groomed through a graduation program tailor-made by that corporate. The corporate that I'm talking about is HCL, which is recruiting 10+2 students to undergo their graduation program, thereafter put them onto the projects. Therefore, skill set is very, very important. Depending on the branch of education that you're coming from, ensure that your skill set is well exhibited in your resume. And don't be a bookworm at all times saying that I did not take part in any of the activities other than academic activities. No, we are looking at all rounders. It could be extracurricular, co-curricular. I have given a range of samples to you. Choose one amongst them. In case you have not picked up Kindle interest, go ahead, do a program right now. Ensure that by the time you come to the final year, you've got something to mention in your resume. Lack of interest will be considered as you are a bored person, you are a dull person. In case I choose you, you're going to sit in front of your desk 24/7, not contributing to any other activity. Finally, poor ending in your resume, which says that a simple signature, no date, or if there is a date, there is no place, etc. So always close with a power pack sentence saying that either the details above are true to my knowledge, can be checked with the references that I've mentioned, or looking forward to be part of so-and-so organization, waiting for further details. Express your willingness to be part of that corporate. If you don't do that, it will be considered as a poor ending, because that's the last portion that the recruiter is going to remember you before calling you inside. You should not start on a bad note, so ending should be as powerful as possible. Most important thing generally that I see in the student community is that they prepare a resume with due attention, but present the same resume to all the corporates. For example, we get different recruiters. They could be from IT product company, they could be from IT service companies, they could be from IT consultancy, they could be from IT marketing, they could be from core engineering. Even within core engineering, it could be production, it could be operation, it could be maintenance, it could be sales, it could be office sales service. So you cannot prepare one resume, thereafter keep trying to push it across all the profiles that you are opting for. That shows that you are not even ready to tailor make your resume for the profile that you are opting for. Therefore, keep your basic data ready. For example, your academic particulars, certification courses, etc. But modify the resume as per the profile that you are opting for. For example, I'm moving away from, say, core engineering to a communication-based job. For example, I'm going for product sales. I should be able to say that being a vivid communicator, I'm always interested in meeting people and interacting with them, developing relationships, thereafter converting those relationships into a business lead. I repeat, being an avid communicator, I'm always interested in meeting people, converting those contacts into a business lead, thereafter getting business opportunities through those leads. This is the right apt sentence for a product sale. But if you mention this in an IT product company, naturally you are not going to, because IT product person is expected to sit in front of the terminal, make use of the latest technologies, try to provide solutions to the product development team for the problem that they are facing. Therefore, you need to tailor make your resume. Do not go with the same resume for all the profiles that you are opting for. These are some of the most important data that are available in the internet regarding resume. The first and foremost is your CV may only get an eyeball attention of 6 seconds. For example, if the photograph is blurred, if the photograph is black and white, not giving details of the candidate, or the camera is focused somewhere and the candidate is looking somewhere else, that means due care has not been taken in presenting the right image to the interviewer. Straight away it will be dumped if it is for a consultant role, because that's the way you're going to face your consumers as well. Same way, the way in which you construct your sentences, kind of errors that you make in your construction process. It could be grammatical, it could be sentence construction, it could be typesetting, it could be using the right exclamatory mark or full stop or a comma. If you make these kind of errors, it's like an aberration. Naturally, the HR, one who is looking at your resume, will feel that you don't pay much attention to the detail, so it may get rejected. There are some figures rightly available to us. 59% of recruiters will reject a candidate because of grammatical errors or spelling mistakes in the resume. 50% of the recruiters will reject if the resume is full of cliches. Cliches are nothing but time-tested and proven sentences which are readily available in the internet. The moment I copy it and paste it in Google, I get to see that it has been used by people across the countries, the same sentences. Therefore, please do not copy and paste the sentences into your resume, because you are the right person to talk about yourself and your resume is the right visiting card for you, as I mentioned earlier. And over 40% are also kept aside by poor design or inappropriate font. I've seen resumes which come in 2 to 3 different fonts. That clearly shows that either it has been made in 3 different time periods or cut and paste from 3 different resumes. That's why the candidate has not even taken due care to select all and convert the format into a single font. Therefore, I would request you to be careful. If at all you are borrowing some key phrases, etc., borrow them, but bring in your own flavor by converting it into your language, so that when you talk about them in the resume, in the interview process, you'll be able to live up to the expectation, because the recruiter is just comparing the facts which are mentioned in the resume with the person who is sitting in front of him or her. Therefore, please keep these points in mind when you are giving final touches to your resumes. With that, I come to the end of this session. I am open for questions, comments, suggestions, so that I clarify all those doubts that are there in your mind. I'm through.
Sir, Commander Gurumurthy sir, I am Dr. Lakshmi Narayana.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice. I need a small clarification, basically, not a question, basically. See, nowadays, government organizations also are asking for a resume. Private organizations also asking a resume. Software companies are also asking a resume. Well, as you said that depending upon the post, one typically will write the resume, etc. Is there any other scientific way that one can really deal those things? That means the major classification right at the beginning. The same post, for example, I want to apply for a data processing scientist in government organization or in a Wipro or TCS. Job could be same, but the organization setup is completely different. I can classify them into government or private or non-government organizations. Could you please just say something on that?
Sure. Very good question, sir. Thank you very much for that question. I could not cover this in my talk. Thank you for that opportunity. The first and foremost is that state, central government jobs are run by those government officers who have been in that job for years together. They make a career out of it. For example, I myself being a naval veteran, I've spent 20 years in Navy. When I go for University Grants Commission selection, UGC selection into the colleges, what I look at the candidate is whether he or she is ready to commit those many number of years for a government job. Minimum 7 years in a short service commission or 15 years for a permanent service commission. So we look at the candidate's mindset. For example, when they enter, whether they, I'm just saying for an example, for a defense selection, you can't say, hi sir. That is taken as too casual. Whereas in a corporate interview, you go and say, sir, they will say, don't be so formal, please call me by my first name. I hope you are getting the tone of the discussion, in the sense that for government related jobs, we expect you to be fully formal, because you're going to be in a hierarchy based on the number of years that you are putting in, kind of exams that you are passing, kind of training programs that one undergoes. Therefore, we expect the candidates to be very, very formal. For example, if a covering letter is being written, please say, address to through proper channel, respected sir. Thereafter, you start. If it is to a corporate, you always say, hi Anjali, I'm forwarding my application for the post of, say, data scientist in your esteemed organization. The tone differs. If you are trying to go and say hi in a government organization and sir and madam in a private organization, it is not going to gel well with. That is number one. Number two is, when we are giving our career goal, looking at long-term relationship with what? Because nowadays, like when I interview few people, they say, sorry, last year I was in Wipro, last year I went to TCS, this year I'm planning to go to Accenture. In case if there is an opportunity with you, I'm ready to join. In the sense that people are trying to jump from one career to another depending on the skill set that they have and the opportunity, because they look for instant gratification. In public sector companies, instant gratification does not come. Gratification comes at the end of long years of service. For example, a defense officer gets a commendation or a promotion or a promotional course or the career advancement course after a tenure, 3 to 4 years of tenure. You have done well, you are being selected for or shortlisted for so-and-so course. There the selection process comes in. Therefore, we look at the longevity of the mindset, the career mindset of the individual. In case you are opting for, a person is opting for a career in private sector, he or she should be willing to learn, adaptable, ready to move from one city to another at any given instant, ready to take up challenges, etc. Whereas when we are looking at a government job, we are looking at the number of years that you can dedicate for the service, number of years that you are ready to sacrifice for the sake of that career in that particular corporation. For example, people who join Neyveli Lignite Corporation, NLC in Neyveli, spend their entire life in Neyveli Lignite Corporation. They get moved on from one lignite corporation to another, but they continue to be in the roles of the central government till their retirement. They keep on moving from assistant manager to deputy manager, general manager, additional general manager. Like that, they keep on moving in that particular cadre, vertical specialization, but they continue to be in government service. They don't quit Neyveli Lignite Corporation to go to Bharat Petroleum, from there to move on to ONGC to Atomic Energy Corporation. Therefore, I would request you to pay attention to the way in which you are going to construct the sentences, looking forward for a long innings with the central government agency, ready to undergo the selection process, thereafter get admitted into your training program. For example, Nuclear Fuel Complex, Hyderabad, Atomic Energy Commission come up with university entry schemes. When they come, they ask, okay, we will give you MTech, but only at the end of 5th or 6th year of your service, provided you are at the cream de la creme of the top of the course, who will be able to break that entrance exam of IIT, etc. Then only you will get that course. Are you ready to sacrifice 5 to 6 years of your life toiling for that particular course? They look at the tenacity of the candidate, willingness to sacrifice minor pleasures in life, to be away from cities, etc., to be inside the campus at all times, attend the problems that are coming in that particular plant, thereafter become an expert in that particular profession, move up in the career ladder. Therefore, the resume drafting is very, very important, whether it is for a private job or a government job. Depending on the role that you are opting for, kind of long-term relationship that one is aiming at with that industry is very, very important.
Thank you, Commander. Thank you very much.
I'm looking at the chat section if there are any questions. Is it necessary to mention known languages? Very, very important question. Srinivas Sandila. I'm impressed by this question. A student from Nizam College, Hyderabad. I'm impressed that students from Hyderabad are also attending this session. Very, very important. Why? Because nowadays, be it corporates or central government or state government jobs, the offices are spread across the states. A person who is proficient in languages has got certain skill sets. In case a student is good in, say, Tamil, Malayalam, Telugu, Hindi, English, in addition, one foreign language, sure he or she would be picked up ahead of others who know only 2 to 3 languages. Therefore, it's very important to mention your linguistic skills as well as computational languages. I assume this question is about linguistic skills. In case you know a particular language in which you can read and write, please mention that. You know only spoken communication, for example, plenty of students from Hyderabad know how to communicate in Urdu but may not know how to read and write Urdu. Please mention that Urdu within bracket, whichever skill that you are good at, mention that. So it's very important to mention known languages. There are plenty of questions as well. Can we speak posh language? I don't know what is posh language. I suppose it is POSH. Try to keep your language as simple as possible. Do not try to confuse. For example, haphazard. This kind of word doesn't generally figure. Razmatas. I was part of college Razmatas team. This is one way of saying. Another way of saying is I was part of college cultural team. So try to keep it as simple as possible, but speak in the best way possible without committing any errors, without adding any fillers. For example, in and around Vizag, we generally see students saying, "I'm interested in computer science, ante. I'm also interested in latest technology, IoT, ante." This ante keeps figuring. We tell our students that if you keep using ante only, in-order paper will come and recruit, because corporates look at people who can talk in business communications, who are good in business communication skills, who can talk in business English, because no more we are insulated from the changes that are taking place outside the country. Corporates are looking at opportunities across the globe. Therefore, you should be good in one common language, that is English, and you should be able to talk Queen's English without using any fillers. Therefore, posh language, the spelling itself is to be corrected. Posh language, I suppose you are talking about flowery language. Stay clear of it. Do not use flowery language. Keep your language simple, straight, without any mistakes. Sure shot you'll be a success. Myself, Kavya Sri. I have simple query that how to commence student project themselves with confident in interview portion or period. Commerce students project themselves. Okay, sorry, I didn't get it. Commerce students project themselves. Okay, let's assume that I'm a commerce graduate. I'm trying to get an opportunity inside a software engineering job. I have upskilled myself with a certificate course in computational skills. I'm presenting myself. The first question will be, tell me about yourself. I'm Kavya Sri. I'm a commerce graduate from Lendi College of Commerce. After entering the campus, I understood that computational skills are very, very mandatory. So I spent my free time in upskilling myself with computational languages. I'm very happy to present my certificates in C, C++ languages. I'm looking forward to be part of your organization wherein I can apply my basic brand skills, that is commerce plus computational skills, for the benefit of the organization. This is how you start. It need not be computational skills, but take it from me, no student is insulated from computational skills. Irrespective of the branch of study, you need to be good. I hope you're all getting to see the kind of ads that they come nowadays in IPL, where even 8 years old child is known for his programming skills, and there is plenty of fight going outside his house on business investments to be done onto that student's project, Wydad Junior. So computational skills are very, very important. So I would request, irrespective of the branch of study that you have chosen, ensure that you get a degree or certification program done in computational skills so that it adds value to your profile. Your opening statement is going to be very, very important. Say that you are from so-and-so branch of study, but you upskill yourself with the computational skills and you are ready to mix both for the benefit of the organization so that the organization advances and your career aspirations are met. I don't get to see, though the number of questions are more, I don't get to see other questions. I don't know why. Open questions, only 2 questions are coming. The rest of the questions are not visible. In chat section, I'm checking. Is there any specification for languages? Sure shot, there will be proficiency test in your mother tongue because you have been born and brought up in your mother tongue. So very important to have proficiency in your mother tongue. Second is English, which is the universal language. Hindi, very important because ours is a very large country. You should be ready to move to Gurgaon if needed or go to Chandigarh for a business assignment. So you should be good in Hindi. So I would say your mother tongue, Telugu, universal language, English, Hindi, very important. In addition to that, minimum 1 or 2 languages. Take it from me, you will be at the top of the target group. I don't find any other questions. If there are any open house questions, please go ahead.
Participants, if you have queries, please raise your hands. If not, we can have a direct conversation.
Do we need to mention about our internship? Very, very important. Internship is very important because internship is the first time that you get to test your academic skills in an industry environment. For example, I studied heat engines. I mastered heat engines, but I've never seen a heat engine in my life. What do? I go to a factory, I see a heat engine. How does it run? What are the inputs? I'm a marine engineer by profession before joining Geetham. So if you ask me what are the subsystems of a heat engine, even in my sleep, I'll be able to say seawater system, freshwater system, air intake system, air outlet system, instrumentation, control system. 7 to 8 systems are there. Why? Because I work with my own hands on a heat engine. Therefore, internship is very, very important because that's the first time that you will get to see an industry setup. How does a corporate function? What is the working relationship? Where do you draw tools from? Where do you report? Where do you report deficiency in the system? All this you will get. Whatever you studied in your graduation, you'll be able to see in reality only in an industry environment, in a corporate environment, in an office environment. So internship is very important. Internships are different types. One is internship with stipend. That's the best thing because you get rewarded for the work that you are doing. Second one is internship without a stipend but with a certificate. The corporate says you come and work with us. We may not be able to pay you, but we will give you a good quality certificate which you will be able to project, and there will be something called pre-placement offer. If the intern is found to be really good, he or she would be straight away absorbed into the corporate because the corporate doesn't want to waste its time in a talent hunt. I already worked with so and so, he is good, so I'm going to recruit straight away. So this is called pre-placement offer. We saw three categories: internship with pay, internship with certificate, internship with pre-placement offer. In addition to all this, if you are unable to get, there are plenty of platforms, open platforms available, be it Internshala, Let's Intern, or UGC website, AICT website, which give plenty of internship. Even AP, Andhra Pradesh Skill Development Corporation, has come up with plenty of internship opportunities. Go register yourself, explore opportunities, try to create set of filters so that you get internship opportunities dumped into your mail every day morning. Select, apply, knock as many doors as possible. One door may open at the end. Explore internship, get a certificate, project it with pride, saying that yes, I've done this internship, I got a pre-placement offer, but I was not interested. I've come out of it looking forward for an opportunity with your corporate. The corporate will value you very much. BTech students will mention about internship. What will a degree student? No. Please, I think you are under a different world altogether. Your impressions need to get changed. Your ideas need to get changed. Internship is must for any course after your 10+2. After your junior college, any course that you do. You could do a beautician course. Please join a beauty parlor for an internship. You could do a cookery course. Please join a hotel for an internship certificate. Irrespective of your degree, you need to get an internship. Please go to Internshala immediately after this. Just put a filter, student from Andhra Pradesh looking for internship in BCom. You will find hundreds of opportunities available. Even software engineering companies are looking at commerce graduates, arts graduates, science graduates to be part of their corporate internship opportunities. Don't think internships are only for engineering. Engineering is pioneers, trendsetters who made it compulsory for all the graduates to be an intern. But I say, irrespective of your branch of study, irrespective of the degree or diploma that you are doing, internship is very important. You may not get internship opportunity, but for example, I am doing a diploma program. I have got 2 months break. What do? I go to CMR Central, go to the general manager and tell him, sir, I am free for 2 months. I would love to work for you for 2 months. Put me in maintenance section, put me in front office, put me in your documentation section, put me in your sales counter. Give me a job, give me a certificate at the end of 2 months. Take it from me, CMR will never refuse you an offer. So irrespective of the branch, internship is must. Irrespective of your graduation, internship is must. Don't think internship is only for engineering. That's a misconception. Please take it out of your mind. All those officials from Andhra Pradesh Skill Development Corporation will agree with me, because under the able leadership of our Chief Minister, Andhra Pradesh Skill Development Corporation has brought in plenty of programs to upskill all those graduating students after 10+2. They don't put any filters like you are from engineering, you are from commerce, you are from business management. Nothing of that sort. Anyone can get an internship. Only the willpower is needed. Go and knock the doors, get an opportunity. How many internships should you do? Sky's the limit, sir. Or Pallavi Bonda, sky's the limit, ma'am. I would request you to explore as many opportunities as possible. I tell my own daughter that she should do minimum 2 internships at the end of every year in a 5-year law program. Why? Because the more the internship that you do, more exposure you get, more is the probability of you getting a pre-placement offer. Therefore, don't put any restriction on the number. Say 5 to 8 for a 3-year program, 5 to 10 for a 5-year program. Sky is the limit. There are no restrictions on the numbers. Moment you do internship in your first year, take it from me, the second year company will be looking forward to have an intern who has done a first-year internship, because you know the corporate, you need not be taught fresh. So try to do as many as possible. I'm trying to learn Hindi language, but how do we remember so many new words in that language? It doesn't matter whether you are learning Hindi or Telugu. When I joined Geetham, I was very poor in Telugu. I tried to pick up Hindi as much as possible, because when I tried to talk to my staff, they thought that I'm trying to throw tantrums at them by talking in English. I tried explaining, saying that, sorry, I'm from Tamil Nadu, my Telugu is limited. They did not understand. I started Yemira, Endukra, etc. Slowly I started building. In fact, I went and told my senior assistant, Meeri ikkada randi. Thereafter, I understood that's not the right way of talking. So slowly you pick up. Linguistic skills do not come instantly. It takes time, the kind of efforts that you put in. Start watching Telugu serials. You will get plenty of new words to learn. Same way in Hindi also, there are certificate programs from Hindi Prachar Sabha. Ministry of Human Resources offer certification courses in Hindi. Please enroll, get yourself certified, start talking in Hindi. At the beginning, they'll start laughing at you, but over a period of time, I tell my own students that who are well conversant in Telugu, they continue to converse in Telugu. I tell them, no, converse in English. Initially, they'll think that this guy is from UK, that's why he's talking in English, but they will understand the value addition that's happening to your vocabulary, the kind of words that you use, kind of sentences that you make. It gets advanced over a period of time. They start following you. You become the trendsetter. That's the only way out. Okay, I'll take the last question because time is already 19:19. I hope it's okay, Sahitya ma'am. What extent we should know about the organization before interview? In and out of that organization. For example, if you're opting for Geetam, you should know when was Geetam started, what is the present state of Geetam, when did it move from a college to a university to deemed to be a university, what are the various colleges under Geetam, what are the programs being offered, what are the alumni doing, who are the officials, everything should be readily available in a piece of paper. You need not show the paper to the recruiter, but any question asked, it shows your interest for that organization. You should do thorough research because you're going to spend your lifetime in that organization, at least the formative years of your career. So background research is very, very important before you get inside any college or an organization. For example, I tell even a 10+2 student, there are plenty of opportunities available in different colleges. Shortlist 5 to 6 colleges, make a comparative statement of those colleges, what are the features being offered, what are the clubs available, what are the extracurricular activities, what are the co-curricular activities, what are the alumni doing, is there a strong alumni network, there how to choose the college. Same way, career options also, we tell the students, explore career option, but choose the best career possible. For that, you need to make a matrix. What are your skill sets that you are offering? What are you expecting in return? If you are really good in software engineering, you should become an IT product engineer. You should look at those kind of companies. If you're good in talking to people, providing solution, become a consultant. If you're good in talking and sales, become an IT sales manager. Therefore, do thorough research before you get into any interview. I've finished. If there are any further questions, please feel free to contact me through Sahitya ma'am. Ma'am has got my contact details, including my email ID. I'll be more than willing. It'll be a pleasure for me to talk to you through other via media. It could be email, it could be a telephonic conversation, but I would prefer mails. Ma'am, I'm through.
Sahitya, will you say a vote of thanks or should I say?
Please go ahead, sir. All yours.
Yeah, I can.
But from my side,
Sahitya, go ahead then. Go ahead.
From my side, I would like to thank both Andhra Pradesh Skill Development Corporation as well as IEEE chapter for giving me this opportunity. I thoroughly enjoyed last 1 hour. I hope you also enjoyed the way in which I presented it. Thank you.
Yeah. So on behalf of APSS DC and entire team and participants also, we extend our hearty thanks to you, dear Commander Gurumurthy Garu. Thank you for giving your service to APSS DC, sir.
My pleasure, ma'am. Pleasure is mine.
So over to you, sir, Lakshmi Narayana Garu.
Okay. Commander Gurumurthy sir, in fact, the first time I could see a person of this thing in Geetam. I know right from Geetam, right from maybe in 79 when it started at Chinnavalter. I know the first batch students, I know all those things in Geetam. I served in All India Council of Technical Education for 5 years. I came for visits to your college also for our approvals of MTech and etc. also. I came and saw the college. It is an excellent university within Vizag. And we never met each other, but certainly we'll meet sometime in soon. I thank really the Skill Development Corporation making our also meeting together. Really, thank you. Thanks to Skill Development Corporation and thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
I will exit, madam.
Yes, sir, please.